Great sports news, that's it. Ross, stick with us because there's a couple of things I want to discuss with you, actually. Firstly, should men's football be doing more to change attitudes to lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender issues? This week, the Football Association chairman said the men's game was at least 20 years behind the women's football on the issue. That's pessimistic, according to Andrew Smith. He's the founder of Oxford United's new LGBTQ supporters group, and he's sitting next to us in the studio. Andrew, great to meet you. Thanks for coming in.
No problem, nice to be here.
Yeah, what do you make of Greg Clark's comments then?
Yeah, I think men's football is behind women's football, but I think putting a timescale on it is wrong. 20 years, who knows what will happen in 20 years' time. A lot's been done over the last few years, especially by groups like Pride in Football and Kick It Out and Stonewall, to try and encourage more activity and inclusivity in the sport. And I think over the last couple of years alone, it's come on leaps and bounds. And I think, yeah, who knows, in a few years' time, it could be so much more better.
Yeah, you've set up the new Oxford United LGBTQ supporters group. Why have you done that?
I've known about Pride in Football for a while, and I was at a game earlier in the season, I think it was against Bolton at the Kassam, and there's a lot of sort of homophobic abuse in the stands, and I was in the top of the south stand at the time, so it's not even in the sort of the core football fan area that you'd associate perhaps with. And I thought, I'll look into that and maybe get involved with the Oxford group of it, and had a look, and Oxford didn't have a branch of it, and there's only 25 clubs at the time who did actually have involvement in it. So I emailed them and said, I'm happy to try and encourage it in Oxford, and yeah, got involved that way. And it's just trying to help sort of be a bridge between Pride in Football and Oxford United, sort of promote their aims of inclusivity. So it's like promote equality in the stands, encourage people of the gay community to attend matches, and to curb the homophobic abuse in the stands, whether that's with or without intent. Because I reckon a lot of it at Oxford isn't like actually any intent behind it, but it's just that atmosphere that it creates can put people off attending the games. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, is it a problem there at Oxford?
I've heard it, so yes. That's what I say. If you hear it, then it is a problem, and it's not just being at the Kassam. If there's an away game, would you feel comfortable going to away games? Would you be comfortable going to Coventry, Millwall, Swindon? Would you be comfortable with that, sir?
I think you do hear homophobia and racism still at football grounds everywhere. I think up and down the country, some grounds are worse than others, and as Andrew was saying, sometimes you have to wonder about the intent, whether or not it's ignorance on the part of the people who are talking. It's just a kind of a cultural thing, and people need to educate themselves a bit better about some of the language they're using. But you do hear it, but I think I don't know. I think there's possibly room for a bit of optimism. There's still lots of room to go, but you look at the supporters groups, the LGBTQ groups that are springing up and down the country. They're more visible now and are more higher profile. You look at Tottenham, for example. Every home game there is a rainbow flag behind one of their home ends, and that's become okay. Could you imagine that in the 1970s, whether or not people would be allowed to do that? I'm not sure you could.
One of the key sort of things behind this, surely, once we've got footballers that have come out and said, look, I'm gay and I'm proud to be gay, and there it is, it's out there, that will change the whole feeling behind football, won't it?
It will, but it doesn't have to come first. I think like a gay footballer in the top 4 leagues in England isn't the holy grail of what the aim is. I think it's just the inclusivity to start with, and it'd be a natural progression where there'd be more comfortable atmosphere to come out as a footballer. So say we've only had, like, say, Thomas Hitzlsperger really in the UK, who came out after he retired, having played in the Premier League, and it's just because he obviously didn't feel comfortable coming out. It's hard for anybody, let alone someone who's always in the public eye. I think with the more inclusivity at Oxford United and all these other clubs, I think it would be a lot easier. And like as Ross just said there, like Tottenham have got this flag behind the ground, and so have Arsenal. And I think theirs is the biggest LGBT group in the world at the moment. And I know that those two groups are very close as well. So it's not even the rivalries between the two teams that come into it as well. It is just a forward movement between them all. And I think that natural progression will help the sport.
Great stuff. Andrew, thanks for coming in to talk to us. And Ross, I mentioned a couple of issues actually. And Andrew, feel free to chip in on this. Says texter here, Richard in Oxford. Hi Howard, on the chocolate biscuit dunking, I used to get a penguin biscuit, bite the opposite corners off and suck the tea through it like a straw, then eat the soft hot chocolate biscuit remaining.
What a waste of chocolate, dunking it into tea or coffee. What a waste. You do not appreciate the cocoa bean in any form.
It's good with a bourbon. You can't beat a bourbon dipped in tea.
They are.
Yeah.
Not following suit, no.
Each to his own ear.
Rich tea, digestive.
I love that. We can start talking about LGBTQ matters, but it's how you dunk your chocky biscuit. It's where we end up. Lovely stuff. Cheers, fellas. Right, the weather. Let me